What would you like me to talk about today? Pardon? Ooh. Had a great weekend, huh? Jealousy and envy. You know, okay. What else? Pardon? I'm going to say, this is for all the lonely people thinking that life has passed them by. I'm channeling this. Don't give up. Just drink from the silver cup and ride that highway in the sky. It's a song from before, long before you were born. I heard about it. Any others?
Celebration.
Celibacy. Oh, celebration. I'm kidding. What is it? One more. Ooh. And I heard the other one too at the same time. Okay. Okay. Sometimes the things are downloading as I'm writing them, so kind of doing things at the same time. But great selections. One thing we have to understand while living on planet Earth is nothing as it seems, obviously. Nothing is as it seems. We're holy beings, and we never left heaven, but we think we did. So it's very important that we understand that all of our experiences, I don't care if you think they're great or not, all of our experiences are depictions of either our fall away from our identity or our remembrance. So when people say, how are you doing today? Or friends, you know, what's going on? And they say, oh man, I'm going through some challenging stuff. What I'm really hearing is you're experiencing symptoms of the fall. When you say, oh my God, I took this class and great prosperity is happening and healing and went to get a massage today, what I'm really hearing is I'm remembering. Think about that. Everything is about forgetting or remembering. The best cure for the forgetting side of that is forgiving. Okay? That's the best, most thorough, miraculous cure. You can do other things. You can be in the forgetting side, and you can supplement with some nicer things for yourself. It's called free will. When we exercise free will, we are exercising the most powerful prayer in our being. See, so for example, I just said, everything is either depicting our fall or our remembrance, our rise, right? Descension, ascension, one or the other. Everything in life's depicting one or the other. Life's tests are all about how I feel the fall, but I want to remember. So life's tests, you know, it's the universe saying, well, good for you. You want to remember. I heard, you know, you say you want to remember. Great. And you're on a path. You're on a spiritual path or a path of self-help, whatever you want to call it. So the universe then says, let's match you here and let's give you some tests that help you remember. Now, we think we're supposed to only get gifts. You get no gifts in this on this planet, in this material universe. You get no gifts other than rewards for having done well on your tests. We sit around and go, well, where's my gifts? You're the same person you were yesterday. What new gifts can you get? Well, I just want some new. Greed, selfishness, that's not going to come. There's no gratuitous levels of this. There's no entitlement. How could we be entitled falsely, egotistically? We're divine beings. How much more, you know, that's the greatest entitlement, if you want to call it that. But if you're not living up to that, then there's no entitlement that you can own and bring in. So people sit and beg God. I believe in prayer. Dear God, give me, help me. And God's like, no comprende. You know, you're not even speaking my language. I don't get what you're saying. Well, I need this and how could you have needs, honey? You're a holy being in my image. You don't get it, God. We have issues here on earth. And God again would say, well, sounds to me like you have to restore your mind. You have to come back to who you really are. Oh, fine. That helped. Why should I even pray to you when you give me these weird answers? They're abstract. You mean they're not spoiling you. They're not enabling your ego. We think our ego only can cause us damage. Your ego can also create false goods. Like the high you get from getting a new car. You're actually no better of a person. You're just the same rude person in a fancier car. Why are we not committed to healing our heart and soul? Healing at the deepest level. So many things, loneliness and envy and all these negatives, but also attachment to positives are more of the ego. That's why great, great teachers have said, die of the old you, not just the negative you. Everything you think is even positive, you're mistaken, because they're all opinions and perceptions. I choose not, I being any of us, I choose not to play with perceptions today. What I think is a good day and a bad day. I'm choosing God, which is here rather than here and here. Make sense? So it's an interesting thing. When I think, my mind get pictures and metaphors, and right now I see this concept. Imagine a child that just beamed into planet Earth. And the ego beams right into its side, right here, over to the side of the child. And the child's birthed right here, innocence, beauty, love, this being. Right here, boom, comes in the ego. And this is actually a visual depiction, kind of a depiction or illustration of how things kind of happened in the big picture. So I'm here, beaming in comes the ego, and immediately it gets your attention. Oh my God, look what to be afraid of. Did you see the news? Did you hear this? That's what the ego has to do. A lot of people say, I always go by the voice that's loudest because it's God. No, the loudest voice is the ego. God's voice is silent. Well, that's unfair. I would rather my ego be silent and God speak clearly. God would love that if you would make that your habit. But we're addicted to waking up, starting our day, wow, feels really amazing. Oh, yes. Thank you. Namaste, God, thank you. Now, what do I need to be worried about today? We just go right into the day. There's got to be something to be terrified about. Did you hear? And we'll even blame those people. Listen, man, you're so negative. I want to stay positive. But even hearing other people tempting us to be negative is a test. Am I choosing the awakening or the sleeping self? Do I want to be unconscious? Unconscious doesn't mean you're not there. Unconscious means you're unconscious to who you are. Like almost an amnesia. So we're not awake to who we are. So this child beams in. The ego's right there. And it doesn't stop. Look out. If we get bold spiritually, mature psychologically, mature spiritually, and question that voice. Then wait a minute, ego. Wait a second. Or voice of negatives, voice of challenges, whatever. Hold it a minute. I'm kind of getting fed up with this. I just went to the doctor yesterday. They told me I have a disease related to stress. And you stress me out. I don't think I like your voice any. Here's what it's going to do. It's not going to go louder and meaner. It's going to go, oh, honey, I'm right with you. I don't want you to be stressed, really? Because I thought you were just the voice of stress. No, I don't want you stressed. And you wouldn't be if it weren't for them. And it tricked you through positives to blame again. Or to even talk about the outside. The ego can actually say, honey, I don't want you sick either. Really? You're actually thinking of my best interest? Absolutely. In fact, I love you so much, I'm going to recommend a pill or a drink to help you calm. Isn't that nice? Take one of these. Drink one of these. I feel less stressed. It tricked you into thinking there was a power in something outside of yourself. Once again. See? It's nothing wrong with taking things. Those things don't even exist. What I'm concerned about is why we would think something outside even exists and has power over us. That's all powerlessness. It's important for us to see these things, see through these things, and own. It's all like, that's one of the greatest points of Buddha's teachings, is to try to get everybody to recognize what you see outside is a reflection of the inside. There were people that went to Buddha and said, is there really a God, or isn't there? Because so many people were practicing religion around him. They were saying religion says that there's a God, but it sounds like you're saying there isn't. Is there a God? Other people, people A are asking him, people B are asking. Different people, different personalities. To one group, he would say, yes, there is a God. Just to the ones that didn't believe in a God, he said, you guys are wrong, there's a God. They're like, oh, well, I got to think about that. The ones that were like, we're religiously into God, there's a God, right? He'd say, no. Just like me, just to annoy them. Don't take me too literally, but he was saying what would challenge them. You're too focused on the outer God. There is no such thing. It's inside. So he was trying to get them to switcheroo to something else. And the people that were saying there is no such thing, no, what he's really doing is giving hope either way. But the hope for those of you who believed it on the outside, understand the hopefulness of finding it within, becoming the thing you once worshipped on the outside. And those of you who poo-poo the idea and you're skeptical and so, you're mistaken. There is a God. And then one person would read one of those or the other and then say, Buddha said there's no such God. He was in a mood. He was messing with you. What can you say? Don't make that what he said is, period. He, just like Buddha who said life is a place of suffering. Just wow, dude. Lighten up, man. That's pretty heavy. But he's doing that to make a point. Life is a place of suffering, which we talked a little bit last week about the parallels of that teaching and those of other traditions. But this world is a place of suffering. What he's saying, and gets taken too literally, just like when he says, the reason you reincarnate, desire. And then all the people that are followers of Buddha started thinking, monks particularly would think, if this is a place of desire, that sounds very Christian-like, doesn't it? Beware desire. And then they had depictions in old, books. They had depictions of people in hell because of their desires. There were lusty desires. There's a hell of, lust, a hell of money. And they took all that, and just like with Buddhism, did the same thing. They made desire wrong, but they misunderstood. You incarnate because of desire. No, you incarnate because of your desire to clear your stuff and go home. Not naughty desires. Religions built up around Jesus, Buddha, and anybody else, they just have this tendency to shame things. Humans, in case you haven't heard this or experienced it, humans tend to mess up everything. The United States is a democracy. No, it isn't. It has democracy in it. It's actually more of a republic than a democracy. Because the forefathers said, hey, let's do this democracy thing. And they said, you know what, wait. Let's also make it a republic to put in check where democracy can go wrong and vice versa. Balance. That's what they did. And you have now two groups, democracy that became democratic, right? A republic that became Republicans. You have two people, just like Christians of different kinds, or Buddhists and East and West, all these stories of duality. None of that is God. That's man messing things up. Right here, somewhere floating, it's not a hard line, but in here, there's this beautiful little to the right, little to the left, depending on what we need today. Little firmer conversation, little softer, but still centered conversation. Anything is possible for us. We don't have to live with the loneliness and the harshness that some of you are asking about here. How to find peace, how to find unconditional love, it's here. The world will keep telling you it's found here, it's found here. When they say, Jesus, when will you return? One of his most poignant statements is warning. When they come and tell you, here is Jesus, there is Jesus, don't believe them. What did he mean? It's not just Jesus, it's answers to life. This pill, this anti-pill, it's still duality. Do, don't do, behave, misbehave. And humans get caught with that, and the ego so quickly pulls us. That child stands there, the ego screaming at it, the child becomes terrified. You know what the sickest thing about the story would be, is even though the child is starting with innocence, gets terrified, has the ego screaming at it, trying to misdirect it, the sickest thing is that the child will still grab hold for safety of the sick voice. Really? Really? It's bad? Yes, look out. Everybody's out to get you. Really? It'll cling to that. Why? Because it's the only thing it thinks it knows. Have you ever seen a video, let's say, a child? And the child, hi, my parents asked me to make this video. I lost my dog and I love my dog and it's been gone for 3 weeks. And then they sneak the dog in because they found it. And then they say, honey, tap on his shoulder, look behind you. Look what the kid does. That is God. Hidden behind us, not here screaming in our ear, hidden behind us, waiting for us to accept the good news that it's been there all along. We just didn't turn within to see it. We were distracted by the ego, terrible ego, bad ego, naughty ego. And the ego's going, you're the one who hired me. How dare you shame me? I'm just doing a job, pretty darn good job too. I have never let you have peace. That's what you hired me to do. Someone to blame. The devil made me do it. That old saying is actually rooted in this concept. Blame the devil. Blame the Antichrist. How could there be an Antichrist that comes into a world of sane people? It couldn't happen. An Antichrist, a devil, an ego, a negative voice, a temptation. None of those have any place in a person who's sane spiritually. Because we would have no interest. I mean, like no interest. Some of us, basically all of us know that certain things, if people asked you to do certain things, there are some things that are not like conflict where you'd have to think about it. There are certain things somebody could ask you where you're clearly, it's not an option, right? Certain things it's just not even an option. Well, how about for $1,000? It's not an option. 10 million. It's not an option. Okay. That is how we're supposed to converse with the voice of hurt, temptation, judgment. You want to know about, we're ascending. Well, if you want to know how well you're ascending, think about questions like this. Are you so clear that you cannot be tricked, tempted, or whatever into hurtful behavior? Judgments, in other words. That's the ultimate hurtful behavior. Judgments, right? Think about it. It's not an option. Well, I just want to tell you about somebody, but I'm not interested. You see? Most of us, when somebody wants to gossip, we're like, oh, I'm not interested. If you're strong at all, you'll say, oh, I'm not really interested. No, but wait. You don't know. And we start to go, really? Is it that serious? And then comes the reactions to some of the other things they tell, and some of, and some more and some more. And we take the bait. When you claim to be ascending in consciousness, this should be one of your barometers. How strongly, firmly, clearly are you saying no to BS? I don't care what it's about. Your mother gossiping about your father, your sisters about your brother, your friends about your partner, whatever the case may be. What I would do and recommend doing is, let me ask where this is coming from, meaning in here. If you're telling me all these things that are tempting me to doubt the love of a person, the clarity of a teacher, the quality of a book you're reading, Oh, that book I've heard, blah, 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 We should ask ourselves, not get sucked in, nor hate them. How dare you tempt me to think negative? Just try this instead. Where is this coming from within me? Why did I draw you into my head today to be this voice? Now, be careful with this, because I'm not telling you don't put them in their place. I'm saying, clean up your side of the street. Where's this coming from? And then say, get behind me, Satan. Not literally, but see, wow. I was just this morning giving thanks for this one person in my life, and God, wow, so good that this person manifested they're mirroring my awakening. Thank you, God. And no sooner you do that, you get to the grocery store and somebody, hey, good to see you. Hey, I heard you know so-and-so. Oh, you know what? I heard about them. This is you trying to ruin yourself. This is you letting the ego try to infiltrate and ruin something that was good. Please try to let good be good. It doesn't matter. You can find fault. Anybody and everybody can find fault with anything. But why be one of those? How about being different and say, today, show me a loving, forgiving mind, heart, soul. That's who I want to be. The real me. So that child gets to turn around and see. Now, when that child turns around and sees the dog, instead of the voice saying, your dog, honey, you should let it go. It's probably dead, Oh, and there's people, that don't like dogs. Somebody probably kidnapped it. It's probably in some other country by now, being abused. All this just, oh my God. I just loved my dog, and now there's all this heavy stuff on me. Now, when that child turns and sees the dog, I ask you this. How much do you think it's still thinking about the other person and all their comments? Not a lot, right? I mean, they're focused on the dog. Oh my God. God spelled backwards, by the way. So the dog, the God, it's there all along. Oh my, it's not going, no, but wait, this can't be real. It can't be, because that person said, that's what doubt, those are the ghosts of the Christmas past are feeding you to tempt you to don't go with the positive. Don't go home. Don't try to awaken. There's concerns you should have. Maybe that's not your dog. It's probably fake. They probably took a cat, shaved it differently, dyed it a different color, taught it how to bark, and it's pretty. Really? How much of that do I want to listen to? And that sounds absurd. You would never listen to that, but everything's absurd. Everything. Anything that isn't God is absurd. Not just absurd like judge it, absurd meaning it doesn't even exist, and it clearly has no power over us. Even words like loneliness, not to mention, the envy, jealousy. I will know if I'm listening to a voice of guidance that is taking me home or dropping me by how I feel. Jealousy, envy, and so on, okay? If I'm reacting, feeling those feelings, there's something in me that's feeding off of that and or is feeding it. First I feed it, then I feed off of it. But there's something in me that's in a relationship with the voice in me that tells me I'm falling. There's no way you could be rising in God and feel lonely, depressed, jealous, envious. Their symptoms are not correct. You don't usually say, I think I have a flu, to a doctor. What makes you think that? Because I feel really energetic and alive and happy. That they would go, I don't think that's a flu. It just doesn't match. Well, envious, hurtful, rude, judgmental, that doesn't fit ascending. But having that said, doesn't mean I'm telling you should judge yourself for feeling envy, lonely. Just see it. Own, this is how I'm feeling. And this is coming from unhealed wounds of the past. Own them, see what they are, see that it's happening, and own it. Not just own it like linearly. Own that it's from unhealed wounds. The only thing that could be making you feel the disconnection from God would be a disconnection from God. When did that take place? In the past. When I was abused, when I was tormented, when people spoke to me a certain way. It all programmed me in the past. and I'm feeling the symptoms and effects of it today. The hangover usually comes after the drinking, not before. So when I'm feeling negative feelings, I'm feeling a psychological hangover for having drank too much of the punch that the ego gave me. When I'm feeling up and kind of, and it's great, it's amazing. You can wake up some days just feeling connected. That can't be an accident, and it didn't just happen right now. You have to have earned all the good in your life. Not because you're unworthy of it. I just mean it means you passed tests. There was a day when you said no to gossip. That brought you a good day today. That might have been 3 years ago. Everything comes in its right time. So we bought into feeling separate from God, and we experience now the karmic effects of that. And if one of you is asking of lonely, envy, etc., you're not the one feeling lonely, and we all have that within us. You're not the one who's not doing well today. I was in the spiritual center, and everybody just seems so bright and alive and energetic, and wow, they're plugged in, and I'm feeling lonely, and so I'm wrong. No, this week it's you, and next week it's me. We have these cycles, but what do we do with them when we have them? How quickly can we catch ourselves and come out of them, bounce back from those? See, that's the spiritual path. This world is going to try to weigh heavy because the ego does not want you going home. If you go home, the ego no longer exists. And it knows letting you find peace means my demise. And I do not want to go away. I want to live forever. So I have to make you feel eternally miserable. Because then I eternally live. Right? So we turn and we realize, oh my God, there's God. Now how much attention do I want to give those other voices of the past? That's what it's like. To me, that's what it means to be born again. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a commitment. I think I'm ready to commit to a new self. And just as I had these moments of dropping, so we separate from God and we feel guilts and shames and on, we come into the earth plane and guilts and shames and other things, patterning of feeling off. Just as we went through these stages of descent, we have to also go through those same rooms that we walked through coming in on our way back. So if somewhere I learned to be hateful, and you become now loving, you will have to go back into the world of hateful. If you once started feeling envious or jealous or competitive with others, and now you don't, you're going to have to go back into those rooms and face yourself again. It's all very intelligently designed. The ego is hoping, now, miss, I'm ascending. We'll see about that. Because you don't go drop, ascend. No, it's drop, clawing your way back up the mountain. It's not just, it's you have to face yourself. All the times you steered this direction other than center, you've got to see them again. Putting it in simplistic terms, if I fell and felt low self-esteem, I have to walk into that room someday and face, can you feel self-esteem? Can you have self-worth? You have to revisit the very rooms you descended through. If you were never drawn into a room on your way down, let's say envy, you don't visit that room. So each person has their tests, their rooms, but are they rooms on your fall or are they rooms on your ascension? The ego is banking on, fine, oh, I see. Someone's decided to become enlightened. Well, I've got news for you. Wait till you get to the room of whatever it happens to be, or one of your raw nerves. It brings you to that. It brings you to that room. It's hope, and it's pretty confident that you will not pass the test of that room. I know you, it says. I know you. I know you think you're ready to work on it yourself and ascend. I know that. But you have, low self-worth. Guess what, Miss I'm ascending? I'm going to have you fired tomorrow. And that's going to the shock. And then when you get home, your partner's going to say, well, I only married you because of the benefits you had at work. And, you what? Oh my God, yeah. And by the way, our children aren't yours. Bam, bam, bam. And the ego's like, just imagine, any minute now. And you're like, oh, money upon me, oh, money upon me, oh, money upon me. I can do this. Oh, and the children are mine. That's okay. And all the benefits. And why did I stay at a sucky job? I didn't even like it. But it was for the benefits. And now she used me for that. Okay. At some point, oh, money pot, it becomes, oh my God, I want to kill everybody. I want to die. It's going to get you. And the ego's just, yeah, baby, I know you. The little arrogant, I'm going to ascend and I can handle stuff. The ego is based on good experience banking against you. Now, in that same presence, the ego, you can't pass, you're going to fail your test. In that same moment, child, God is right here, silently waiting for you to say, be with me while I enter this room. And then the person says, you lost your job, and then they're leaving you, and then the kids aren't yours, and bam, I mean, those do hurt. There's nothing wrong with you psychologically feeling depressed about it, but bounce back. How did you end up at the end of the day, not the first minute, at the end of the day, how did you do with your tests? If you end the day back to hate, low self-worth, you simply you come in a little into the more darkness, into this world again, and have to wait until you decide to commit again to awakening. You just buy into more illusion, and there'll be karmic effects of that. However, the Holy Spirit of God, the Divine Mother, is saying, honey, what you're feeling are labor pains. And if you can stay with me and let me be your midwife, something wonderful can happen. And we can feel nauseous. It's okay. The body and the world is going to try to do its thing to make you doubt your commitment to a new life. I'm born again, meaning I'm committed to becoming the Christ child, the awakened child, the child of God. I'm absolutely committed to this. And then in comes the news and work. And then the person betrays you and the kids aren't yours and whatever else. And you find yourself over a toilet bowl. Because the anxiety, and you ulcerate, and you've got blood coming. You know what? This is not who I am. My reaction is not who I am. So I'm asking you, God, be with me while I go through these temptations, these reactions. I'm giving you my nausea. I'm giving you my anxiety attack. See? Own it and put it on the altar to the Mother. It's not going to behoove you to say, I'm not feeling this. Because I read this book and it said, there's only God, so there's only God. This is not happening. This is not. All you're doing is intensifying guilt and shame because part of you knows it does feel like it's happening. So through this, and the great thing is that when you pass the test and you go, I did feel it. I did feel anxious. I did feel sad. I did feel low self-worth. I did. But I didn't end that way. I came out with it saying, and yet my faith is in you, God. And for you, during that moment, it could be to your knees, prayer, be with me. It could be a chant, an affirmation. You could sit and do mantras related to specific issues. Whatever external thing you choose to do, it's not just about, those things are just ritual or ceremony to help. They help. It has to be a determined change in consciousness. You know, people that think we're ascending. Really? Are you any different than you were last year? No, but we're ascending. Ascending means ascending into higher consciousness. If you don't have higher consciousness, what are you ascending to? Well, but if somebody said all the planet Earth is ascending. No, it's people that are raising consciousness are ascending. Jerks are not ascended jerks. That doesn't make sense. Ascending into higher consciousness. Are you more loving and forgiving? Are you a better person? Are you kind? Do you know how to be of service to others? Well, no, but others are others. I'm worried about me. I'm ascending. They're not. Oh, great. They're very fundamental Christian of you. Jesus is coming to get me, and unfortunately for the rest of you, you're all going to hell. Wow, like, where's the word Christian means to be like Christ? Where's the like Christ in that? It isn't there. Hypocrisy. It's everywhere. It's rampant because the ego is everywhere and rampant. But we can choose differently. We can say, despite the way the world looks and feels, I'm choosing the presence of God. And in case you haven't noticed, the world is really, wow, it's going really, really nuts. But there's reasons. Guys, there's not only my rooms on the way home, there's our collective rooms. We collectively are going through a lot. Why? Because we're going home and we're having to re-enter our false selves, these rooms. We're having to revisit the lies of duality. It is not going to end up where someone's right, Republican or Democrat, or someone's right, male or female. All these things are exposing themselves to be what they are. Human-created, ego-human-created institutions to simply distract us, like the voice here screaming at the child. But you and I are the child. Why do we want to keep not only listening to it, but clinging to it for some false sense of safety? Some people have married or stayed married to a very blatant embodiment of the ego that was not nice, that was terrifying, and it made us cling more to them because it was familiar. We'll marry people like them and not even realize because it's, familiar. It'll be like, wow, I feel really attracted. You're actually not feeling attracted. You're feeling a resonance to your previous abuser now manifesting in this abuser. And that makes you go, there's something really interesting here. And you think this is intriguing. I should marry them. When in fact, it's the voice of sanity saying, run. This is them again. This is Friday the 13th, part 80. The movies just keep getting made, but it's the same movie. None of those horror movies ever ramped up its plot line. It never raised its budget and got really great actors. It was always the same. If they had decent actors, they had it. It was the same kind of formula. Cookie cutting, and that's life and relations. So to me, it's very, interesting. A conversation I had with some of the board members recently, very beautiful and very powerful, but I said, guys, we're calling this the global center for Christ consciousness. And that does mean we have to ramp things up. Because even a workplace, a spiritual center place, a yoga class, whatever you do, the places, the environments you and I enter in our world are generally replicas with the same archetypes of stereotypes of other relations. So you go and you have this girlfriend of mine, we're going to open a yoga center, and she and I are really feeling alive and great about it. You open the center, don't think that your sister's not going to show up. Your sibling, the one that threw you under the bus and the one that used to try to be prettier or smarter, she's going to show up right now. Oh no, we're friends. My friend and I, we're yoga sisters. We have matching outfits and, we cut our hair the same. We're yoga sisters. Talk to the hand, man. I know where this is going. Because you can't escape yourself. Remember that song, Kicks Just Keep Getting Harder to Find? Remember that? And it says in that song, it's fine, it's lost in you people. It's from the 60s, before you were born. Good, thanks. You couldn't have been there if you remember it. So, in that period, in that time, in the 60s, there was so much being shared message-wise coming through, songwriters and so on. But in this one, no matter what you do, you'll never get away from you. It's a great line. And no matter what you do, you'll never run away or get away from you. You're still going to be there. You'll sober up from yesterday's high, but why are you getting stoned? Because there's something in you don't like and you're trying to numb it or deny it. Once you sober up, it's back. I drink to deal with stress. Oh, and the stress went away, right? You had a drink, and you were never again stressed. That worked. No, now you need 2, and now you need 3, and that's the genesis of addiction. You think there's a problem, you don't know what it is, so you find some external means to fix it. External can't actually do anything. It can only seem to. The adjustments have to be an inside job. Why do I need a drink? Because I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? Well, I have these patterns. Keep going. What are the patterns? Well, there's this and that, and past and remembering, and oh man, I can see it. This has been throughout my lifetimes. You heal that, the anxiety drops, you don't need the drink. That's what healing would look like. Real healing would look like. That's why in the 12-step program, you're encouraged, insisted upon, that you work on yourself. You don't just not drink. Hi, welcome. We're just going to kind of sit around and look at each other craving drink. This is fun. This is, wow, it's a knockout group. I got to be here tomorrow. No, you go and you actually accomplish something of a release and getting out the old. So I said to some of the board members when we were chatting, here's what we're going to do, guys. Because we're going to have potential envy, competition, these sisters, sibling rivalry, all the things that can go on in life. We can't impose perfection. We don't want to do that. We don't want to, now that we call this the global center, let's never think a naughty thought. That's, you'll end up neurotic. What we can do is two parts. If you keep working on the old stuff inside, you're lessening the chance that it'll get vented on someone else. So let's work on our stuff. When one of you triggers another, work on it. The inside, heal and work on it. Now that lessens. That's not enough. There's another half of the story. And I said, treat each other with love and respect. What happens is, as you get closer, we start taking for granted, right? You let out a little more this, you a little more opinions. I'm a little bit idealistic, but mostly in a healthy way. It is not too idealistic to say we can behave with love and respect. Catch the old stuff and work on it. Someone triggers you. Don't deny it. Don't minimize it. Don't justify it. You can try, but be careful with that. Look at it. Where's it really coming from? And heal it. But don't just, okay, now I don't hate you as much or judge you as much to compete with you as much. That's not the goal. Where's the, and I love you. I love you. You are my spiritual brother and sister, and I love you. That's what's going on in the world, why the intense tests. But guys, that's where we're all going. This world is going to get pummeled more and more every year until people learn to take responsibility and look at themselves. Rid themselves of that and build on top of that, on now a healthy foundation, a new world, a new life. One where we assume the best about each other. We affirm the Christ presence in each other rather than fault finding and, because all that is in my littleness, I have to find fault in you so that I don't feel as low. Now, it doesn't work for me to just think that I'm higher than you. When I'm judging others, it keeps me down too. So now, if I heal my stuff with you, the anchors are cut and I rise to higher consciousness. Not by proving I'm better than you. That binds me to you. So many people that have well-intendedly tried to cut cords with people they didn't like, the very not liking them actually reestablished more cords to them. Because that's what psychic stuff does. My unconscious stuff towards you, it builds these cables, not just cords, cables. And those cables go with us through lifetimes. So back to where we started. Why do we incarnate, Siddhartha, Buddha, Gautama? Why do we incarnate? Desire. What kind of desire? The desire to heal and remember who you are. That, you see the difference in what I said? Old school religious people say that he said, you come because of desires. Human, naughty desires. Which makes Buddhism a fundamental religion now, because of your interpretation and preaching that to others. But think of the difference of the meaning. You're still using the same word, desire. Guys, what does it mean? The desire to heal that. Look at how different that is. The desire to end that pattern with that person. Why did you pick your dad, your mom, your husbands, and whatever? Because of desire. Well, I didn't desire that my husband and wife that much. No, that's not what we mean. The desire to heal with them. You have a soul, and your soul wants to heal. Our soul wants us to remember our real self. This is like, this talk is about the heart and soul, but it's also about the battle to remember the real self. Okay? That's it. The battle to remember the real self. Wow. Why is it a battle? Not really a battle. It's really, you don't have to fight it. You just accept 100%, accept who you really are, and gone, done. But it doesn't happen generally. Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, or another way I could put that is, Christ teaches in conscience, Christ consciousness teaches us. The commitment to awakening should not be a painful experience, but it usually is. That's unfair. Why does the ego get to talk loudest? Why do we have to have challenges on our way towards awakening? Well, you don't have to have them. Ready? Go. Be done with them. Be over them. Ready? Go. That's why it's challenging. That's why it's called a battle. That's why in the Gita, Krishna is talking about it in a metaphor of battle. That's why A Course in Miracles uses the world is like a battlefield. That's why they use these harsh metaphors for this. The jihad, which is really explained in the Quran, a battle against yourself. It never had to do with fighting other people, wars. It was the greatest, the holy war was the one you fight with your wholeness. The resistance I have to becoming who I really am, that's going to be painful to let go of. Not because of it having power, it's because of my attachment to it. Non-attachment has never caused pain ever in this universe. Attachment has never not caused pain. And yet we choose attachment all the time. I'm attached to the way I look. I'm attached to your image of me. I'm attached to a certain amount of money. I'm attached, everything. Even I'm attached to not dying today. There's subtle attachments. There's major attachments. The ones that we talk about major, like say a codependent relationship, that's kind of obvious. But there's all kinds. You go and pay extra money for a pharmaceutical grade nutrient because it's going to clearly fix something, and it doesn't. Technically, you were attached to it doing a certain thing for you, right? You got a blowout in your tire. Well, I was attached certainly to not have any blowouts today. Everything in this universe becomes a temptation to be stuck to it, bound to it, attached to it. Why though? Why? Why do we have attachments? Because we're afraid. See, why does this child cling to the voice screaming at it? Because there's nothing else to cling to. It's alone and terrified. What's it going to... help me. Will you protect me? See, it's a natural instinct. Fear-based instinct. How's that child going to say, wait a minute, I don't like what you're saying, the 5-year-old. Hey, wait a second. Be still and know I am God. How's that child going to go, hold on one second, and look behind and see the presence of God? It's almost impossible, but that's why we say, even though the child begins in innocence, the ego pummels it. And that's why we say that it's called light work. There's work involved. But it's also what I would call maturing. What we call the spiritual path is actually a maturation process. Spiritual and psychological. Why didn't I just say spiritual? Because while you're on earth, it's also a psychological process. That's why A Course in Miracles is a book on spiritual psychology. It's not a book on spirituality. Your spirit doesn't need healed. Your psyche does. Because in your psyche, you believe you're something less than pure spirit. So really, we're mental. No. It's really an issue of the mind. The mind has to be healed. When I say the mind, I don't mean the thinking, cognitive mind. I'm talking about consciousness. My thought processes and my beliefs together are my consciousness. My thoughts and my beliefs combine to become my consciousness. And my consciousness is sick when I choose to forget who I am. My consciousness is healing when I choose to remember it. Everything is that forgetting or the remembering, depending on which one you're feeding or serving. You'll always know, as I said, you'll always know which one you fed by how you feel. Do not get all tempted to say, I'm not feeling great today. When did I make that? Guys, that could be lifetimes ago. Your ego doesn't want to disclose everything. The ego is very governmental. Everything cloak and dagger, everything hidden. Lies, games, So don't expect to know. If you happen to go, click, I remember this thing I did a year ago, and it's right there. It's popped right in. There you go. Instant knowing, good. Do not become obsessed on knowing the details. Be at peace knowing that there is a detail. That somehow this is an old wound coming back. An old pattern of beliefs or whatever of mine that it's up to me to heal. So I see it, I own it. This is unhealed wounds of whose? Of mine. Yeah, but they did of mine. Put them on the altar. You can't put other people's issues on the altar. You can't ascend because of all the judgments you had on other people, that you put on the altar. I don't like this about them, and here it comes Mother, Holy Mother, Divine Mother. I'm going to give you, there's this, and they should really eat better. And I want to put on the altar, I'm so spiritual, I'm going to put all meat eaters on the altar so that they can be healed by you, God. And God's like eating a steak. What? Peace to meat eaters. Blessed are the meat eaters, for they shall inherit the earth. That's not how this works. You don't ascend by putting other people's issues, based on your judgments of their issues, on the altar. It's how much of yourself do you put on the altar? How much of ourselves? How much of our erroneous, the false thoughts? It's easy to say, we get in a group in the Sunday service, sacred Sunday service, and we pray and we meditate. And we need to be kind. We do. But if we don't leave different, it's still hypocrisy. Integrate what you hear today. Leave with at least one thought of one person that you're giving to God and not holding judgment anymore. Or about yourself. Whatever it happens to be, give, surrender something, a little bit today. Every drop that we surrender to God, every drop that we cry out, sigh out, every drop that we give up can be replaced by the presence of God. One drop at a time becomes a puddle. The puddle becomes a pool. The pool becomes a lake. The lake becomes an ocean. The ocean becomes a universe. And the universe becomes our consciousness. It will start a drop at a time. No, but I want it quicker. Well, then do more drops. That's it. One decision at a time. One choice to not hold on to the belief that you or anyone else is other than God created them to be. How do we deal with mean people then? Acknowledge that they feel mean. Don't pretend they're not being mean. It feels like they're kind of mean. I don't know if they're mean. I'm not them. That's between them and God. But I feel like they're being mean. What should I do about it? See what it brings up in me. Give that to God. Replace it with holy presence. And now you can be the Christ in front of that person, healing them from being mean. If all you do is react and judge them for being mean, all you did was jump into the mean pool with them. I know it sounds unfair. I know that we are addicted to the notion of everybody needs to get their act together so I can be happier. What is wrong with you people? We should all do something a certain way, and if only. That doesn't work. Take a deep breath. Feel exhausted. But I'm exhausted. Why? Because I keep trying to fix everyone, and there's so many of them. And just when I think I've worked on like 15, I found out there's 8 billion people on the planet. How can I do this? I'm exhausted. That's going to lead to depression. You take on too much, and then you get sad and depressed, exhausted, that you can't do it all. You forgot. It isn't the human you that's doing it. It's the divine in you that has already done it. Close your eyes and accept that it's done. Close your eyes and give thanks that at the end of the day, we've never left. And all I needed was to do this work to remember that I'm still home. And the annoying and hurtful people on the planet, they just signed up to mirror my misbeliefs. And yeah, some of them did a really tremendous job at mirroring what it's like to not feel God's presence. But as I healed, I started noticing more people mirroring that I am one with God. Right? I'll close with this. There's a brilliant philosophical Russian novelist that once taught, he called it an underground. And what he was referring to was the subconscious self. But he was talking about all the misgivings and misrepresentations of life in the underground where everybody's lying to each other and so on. What he was really, this is like in 1860, what he was really talking about was he was seeing the truth of how the ego behaves. Sigmund Freud loved this, really admired this guy. He's like, he's better at psychiatry than I am. This guy understands, because this guy had the philosophical slant to this. And then one of the main points that people will remember this author for is, he said, the world keeps telling you 2 + 2 is 4. And it isn't. It's 5. Okay? And of course, the world shames you for being right-brained and creative. Get with it. Come on, get with it. Do what we tell you to do. 1 + 1 is 2. It's always 2. Look, there's 1 apple, 2. We have proof. Just because your senses, eyes and such, see something that looks factual doesn't mean it is. So if I did a workshop on this and said 1 + 1 is 2, right? Yes, and 2 + 2, linear answers, and you guys all agree. But what if before we got into the homework, what if I started off by saying, and remember this, no matter where you go, God is, and God is 1. So now, 2 + 2 is 4? No, it's 5 because you forgot the 1 of God. And technically, 3 times 3 is 1. 8 times 15 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 1. Because no other numbers are real, no other numbers matter. I said that at the outset. And you guys keep coming up with 2 when I say 1 + 1. Because now that we've gotten here, we've been programmed that this is the rule. Linear, 1 + 1 is 2. We forgot before duality, there was only 1. Everything comes back to the oneness of God. So technically, 3 + 3 is 1. Go to school and think if you're going to graduate when you keep thinking like that. Are they going to graduate you? They're not. You're flawed because you're not fitting into their reality. People have been taught very little about economics in school, but to some degree. But what they're taught is get a job, work for others, get a job, have a meager amount of money. And one of the brilliant things, put your money in the bank. Where you used to get 10% interest, now you get 1%, and they tax you on that. But I hear and I obey. And that's the human race. Why? Why don't we turn around and see God was standing there all the time saying, sweetheart, you are a prince and princess of the universe. You're inheriting all that God is. 1 + 1 is anything you want. But it all comes back to God. This is all an illusion. Don't buy into limited income. Don't buy into the principles of this world. You are not a victim of the world you see, but you'll never know that unless you wake up to who you are, because who you're not is a victim of the world you see. But who you really are can't be. All the victimizations and all the wounds that we've done to each other is part of the 3 plus 3, any other number, add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's this world. They're all numbers and they seem to have power, they seem to be real, and they seem to be factual and linear. There's something we've forgotten, which is our holiness, which is the only real power. Please take a few centering breaths. Peace, 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 peace. Breathing, affirming peace. Everyone on earth is going to come to the same lessons and conclusions. Same tests. We'll never be able to run away from ourselves. I wish God would do this, God would do, just undo self, the false self. Breathing, breathing. I need do nothing. I need do nothing but accept who I am. I thought I had to fix. I thought I had to fight. I thought I had to repair, even karma. I had the desire to fix it all. But wait, before there was anything to fix, I am that I am. I am as God created me to be. That's exciting. I don't know how to totally wrap my mind around that, but I'm going to go with it. This is phenomenal. I'm ascending to a consciousness that I already am. I'm healing wounds that already are gone and have no power. Can I accept that completely? That's the question. So in this moment, I am as God created me, holy, at peace, joyous. That's the truth. But if I have any resistance to that at all, what would it be? Just imagine. If I have any resistance anywhere in my being to being a whole, holy being, what would that resistance be? And we invite you, Holy Spirit of God, Divine Mother, please help us to see these things that we can then put on the altar. Could be voices of undeserving, shames, guilts, things I've done, things done to me. I'm damaged goods, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, all these stories. See what they are so that we can put them on the altar. What is it in me that would impose my will of unholiness onto God's will that I'm holy? Why would I compete with God like this? Quiet, honest moment. Hear a voice asking you, now that you know what that is, would you like to keep that? Because you have free will. Would you like to keep that thought, that pattern, that belief? Would you like to keep that for another day, another year? Would you like to keep it for 5 more lifetimes? It's up to you. Or are you willing to place it on the altar? The altar meaning the heart of God, the Holy Mother, Divine Mother. Giving this into the hands and heart of God, trusting that she'll know exactly what to do with it. I don't even have to know why I kept it for so long, but if I do know, if it pops into my mind, great. Put that on the altar too. To you, Mother, I surrender all my opinions of myself. Why not? I was wrong anyway about them. I was mistaken. Why would I want to keep them? Give them up. And then, what would you like instead? Don't just give up the old. What is the new that you would like to feel instead? Love, self-worth, peace, joy, trust, oneness. Pick a word or two that represents a feeling of connection with God and breathe that in for the next 30 seconds. Hear the words, feel the words viscerally, coming into your heart and soul. And then on the exhale, exhale and let that wash over every cell. Let it wash away neurons. Let it wash away cellular memory. Let it wash away emotions and patterns and beliefs. In comes the presence, and it washes over you, the tide, pulling out the toxicity, leaving you lighter. This is the light of God. Remember the child that turned around and saw its dog was there. Imagine that kind of a feeling. You just discovered God was there all along, as was your holiness. How good should you feel right now? Just give yourself a few seconds of imagining feeling that level of high goodness, excitement, joy, contentment, wholeness, just everything. Wow, it's here. It should feel greater than how you would feel if you won the lottery. In this moment, Father, Mother, God, I feel your presence. I am your presence. And as I heal, I am never healed alone. I extend what I'm feeling in terms of love and accomplishment, maturing, to all of your children. These are all my equal brothers and sisters. Blessings to you all. Every Republican, Democrat, male, female, parent, child, every animal, from the beautiful soft to the creepy crawlies, all of them. Light of God, peace to you all. The predator animals and people will stop biting when someone returns peace and forgiveness for their behaviors. Peace, peace to everyone. I exclude no one from this. And so it is. If we fail to live up to being the global center, and this isn't just about this center, all of us watching a presentation like this must have somewhere in their mind a belief and a desire to become who we really are. Okay? Now, if we answer that call, great. If we don't, it's unfortunate. It's going to happen anyway. But if we don't answer the call, we're adding to the problem, and we're adding to the stalling and more time of pain and suffering in this world. If we answer the call, we speed it all up, switching things over to the light of God. The world is no different than myself. If I'm feeling bummed today, how long do I want to take to see it, own it, surrender it, replace it, and give thanks? How long do I want to take to do that? Well, it's the same with the world. How long are we going to take? We can speed this process up. Ascension can be in one split second. It can also take 1,000,000 more years. I don't have that kind of time. So why play with it? Why mess with it? Why drag it out and hold a resentment for an extra day? Please know that I'm not shaming you for feeling hurts and resentments. That's fine, guys. Everything in its time, okay? If you hear me or other teachers telling you about, but you have to forgive, please never hear and interpret that as my shaming you into forgiving. When you're not there, don't be there. Continue working on stuff, cry, talk about old hurts and whatever it happens to be. The day will come where these things don't have the power they seem to now or at any other time in your life. Okay? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. If I do this work, if I do the work to act the love, the Christ presence, then I'm actually channeling the presence of this thing the Bible says will wipe away all tears. I will become an embodiment of one who wipes away tears, lifts burdens from people's shoulders. That's my goal. I become this lifting the hearts and souls, giving hope to people. Well, that sounds like a great inevitable thing, right? If it's going to be inevitable, then it has to start at some point to become inevitable. So why not start today? Be different than others who gossip or hate or judge or compete. That doesn't mean polish yourself and pretend you don't have those thoughts and feelings. Own them, surrender them, replace them, give thanks. Thanks for the questions you guys asked, all the stuff. Even the word you asked about celebration. During the meditation, when I said imagine, it should be greater than winning the lottery. Really try to feel and imagine. You're like, okay, well, if I won the lottery, what would it look like? It's the same as finding God was there all the time. Wow, yes, there should be that feeling. It doesn't mean you have to stand in your chair and scream, but there should be a feeling of aliveness, right? Aliveness. That said, it doesn't mean that there won't be challenge and contrast. The more you wake up, the greater the test to match you. Because the ego doesn't go, oh, geez, you read a good book, I'm done. It just goes, oh, really? I'm going to light that book on fire. I'm going to get your partner to throw it away. I'm going to create something. You're into some spiritual material, but I'm going to create something like your children or your partner is going to tear the pages out and put it down, under the cage of the animals at the house. It's like, what? That was a holy manuscript. Is it? Or are you the holy one? It's all these tests, they'll come to match. Just a 60-second example. This center, there was a semi-progressive, had to be because it's in Sedona, Unity Church at one time. Many, many years ago. Then I came. Couldn't even say that without starting to laugh already. Then I showed up. And so we took it to another level, but mastery in Christ consciousness, not just kind of a nice progressive version of a unity, which is already a progressive compared to traditional or fundamental groups. So that was a great thing. But here, it was like a Sedona version. So it was really pretty cool in its own right. But I showed up, somehow we created each other and boom, it opened up to another level. But 100 and something people started attending instead of 30. So we really shook things up and took it to another level. But there were a handful of people that couldn't make that transition. This frequency you go to at a higher level, not all people can make that transition. There were really, harsh and opinionated kind of more traditional people that like to complain about everything. They couldn't go with us. Then we move locations. That's another frequency. If it is, and it was, a new frequency. And some people, wow, we reached 10 times the number of people, 100 times the number internationally with the streaming. But here, look at the number. We doubled the space, we doubled the bookstore, and We have bathrooms, finally, you know? The other place, it was like 1/4 bath for 150 people. You know? But look, it's like, wow, but not everybody can make that transition, right? Please be prepared that not all of the people in your life will be able to handle the transition to a different level for you. Raise the bar, what percentage got raised, and that's going to decide what frequency. Just like when you dial up a radio, you're changing frequencies, and some radio stations will come in at this frequency, some at that. It's the same. Change frequency, some people will join you and come in on it, and others will be gone. They're not good or bad, they're just a different frequency. Raise the bar on your life, and some people cannot or will not make the transition. One of the things I noticed pattern-wise is even though we had really great people that transitioned to the new location, there were some that were a little bit more extreme past lives as nuns, you know, and not that that's not transitionable, because some are still here and they've gone spiritual, you know, but some had a little bit more of that they couldn't let go of, you know, a little of the judging and the ruler on the knuckles kind of, still carrying some of that, and that just didn't fit. You know, we have people that, if you stay after service, they dance naked in the aisles. It's amazing. It's a very different group. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Okay? But now the name. Ooh. And there's only a few that, you know, they don't know what it is. They go, no, you know, I'm just reasons and head stuff, and I got to mow my lawn. You know, that's really what's happening is we went here. Can you go there? And as a leader here, I'm a very conscientious person. So as part of the leadership, I think to myself, we have to be careful and be responsible. You know, if we dial up too high, you know what I mean? So it's like, so I'm aware of what are we going to do and not do? What are we going to say and not say? So I'm aware of that and kind of massaging that in my mind. And when I ask you guys, you say, let's go. Don't dial it down. Let's go. So I just go, okay. And the name, you know, it's not we were going to do Sedona Center. No, it's a global center. All of those things are not an accident. You understand what I'm saying there? Dial it up. Go where you really are going. And then what I believe, this isn't making us special. This is where everyone's going. But they're going to get there the easy way or the hard way. That's all. So, love to those who couldn't make the transition in our lives here, but also in your life. Be prepared. Start owning that you too are the global center for Christ consciousness, your little network here. You are your own spiritual teacher, your own counselor, and so on, as well as using that of others to help you support. But dial up, guys, please. Don't judge those who can't climb with you. Love, respect, but don't shame yourself for dialing up. Don't minimize yourself, and don't play small. This is where I'm going. And my old addictions don't fit that. My old relationships, whatever it is that doesn't fit, bid farewell. And as we're moving into the fall season, it's a good time to bid farewell. Think of Halloween as a good time to let go some of the skeletons and creepy things that you used to be married to or relating to or whatever it was in the past. Goodbye, goodbye. Love you, goodbye. Happy Halloween to you too. Goodbye. Then get ready for Thanksgiving and then Christmas, the new you, and a new year. It's all beautiful symbolism. Thank you. We're going to do our love offering. Please, please, please be as generous as you can be. We greatly appreciate it. Your love offerings go if you're online, it's online posted. The blue bags here, the wicker baskets are for any extra donations you can afford to share. And guys, we really appreciate there's some of you out there who do one-time donations or larger donations. It really makes a difference for all that we're doing, all right? So peace and thank you. Thank you. Hold your love offering to your heart and recognize the outside world is an illusion. What you're giving is just a form. It's $5, it's $100, it's whatever it is. That's the illusion. What are you feeling in your heart when you do give? Even if you have nothing in your hand, what do you feel? Please try to tune in to love and support for us, because we're you. Love and support your spiritual center. It's It's a symbol of you and your walk to God. Be grateful and give. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. While they're passing those around, very quickly I'll share this. Remember, chaplains are available after service to do a prayer and healing with you. If you're interested in some of the other things that I do, we're going to have a workshop next month. I think it's what's the date, 20-something? 23rd? Yeah. So mark your calendar and be prepared. We're going to do a workshop on abundance and power of consciousness. I won't get into the details yet. But also, when people want private sessions, feel free. You can sign up for private sessions with me, as well as chaplains here. The chaplains are available throughout any week, for that matter. And we have home support. Like if people are ill, members, we'll have chaplains come out. If you're a member, they'll come out and support in any way they can. But we have Facebook, and we have YouTube and all these other places that we have present, so you can watch us more consistently.